Welcome to Tuesday afternoon yoga and meditation. So to anyone who's out there who hasn't heard this yet, grab a couple of blocks or the equivalent of blocks, maybe big book or basket or something like that, maybe even a big can of tomatoes, blanket or towel folded up will work for a pad, and an extra pillow or cushion or something like that for our final meditation at the end that'll be sitting for a little bit longer. You're also welcome to sit on a chair or lie down all the way on your back in our final meditation. So I'm also going to mute all. There we go. Okay. So we'll start in our seated position, finding a comfortable seat, using whatever props you need to kind of get settled with your hips lifted a little bit. It helps to have the hips on the edge of a blanket or towel, or even on the block. You might use a block or another prop to kind of lift up the knees if that would feel good. Finding a way to support hips and knees so that there is a real sense of grounding. We don't have to roll back, we don't have to hold ourselves up, that there's a way to kind of support the low body and the way that we ground in to support. And that allows the spine to lift, shoulders to relax, crown drawing toward the ceiling. And then close the eyes or hold a soft gaze. Starting to bring the awareness inside on this sunny spring afternoon where maybe our energy has been moving outward a lot, getting things done, being involved in external activity, interactions. So beginning by bringing our awareness back inside to our own center, our internal compass. And bringing our awareness to the breath helps us anchor here, anchors us to the body, anchors us to this moment. So noticing how the breath moves in and out of the body. Without trying to change anything or make anything special happen, just noticing. We're going to get a little more connected and aware of what's happening on several different levels of our experience this afternoon. So starting with the breath. Maybe you feel the breath moving in and out of the belly. Maybe you notice it up in the lungs a little higher, up in the chest. Maybe you notice it in the nostrils. And there might be a sense of expansion of the whole body, just a kind of general expansion and condensing on the inhale and exhale. So just noticing where you can feel the breath the most, and let your awareness just rest there. Noticing the quality of the breath, whether it's shallow or deep, long or short waves, smooth or maybe kind of jagged in places, a little rough. Dropping any judgment, not trying to get anywhere in particular, just kind of making friends, getting to know what our experience is. And then feeling into the physical body. So noticing first where your body is connected to ground. Where do you notice connection to support in the body? Maybe feeling into the sits bones, the legs. If you're in a chair, maybe you notice the feeling of the seat or low back on the chair. Maybe hands are resting on knees or thighs. Noticing a sense of ground. Notice how we don't have to hold ourselves up. That the ground rises up to meet us. And then we'll scan through the body, noticing what's happening throughout the body, noticing places where it feels pleasant, where it doesn't feel so good, noticing maybe temperature, a sense of things being tight, achy, or spacious and easeful. Just noticing what you notice as we scan from the crown of the head down through the whole head, the throat, the jaw, neck and shoulders. Awareness melting into the shoulders and down through the arms, elbows and wrists, into hands and fingers. Both arms. And coming back up to the chest and the upper back. Letting awareness move down through the torso, through the ribs, to the upper belly, mid-back, the lower belly, the low back, and into the hips. Awareness melting into the hips. Feeling what you feel here. Feeling legs, knees and ankles, feet, toes, both legs, both arms, the hips and torso, head, neck, and shoulders. And then feeling into the whole body, a global sensing in this body. This is what it feels like to be in this body, in this moment. And then checking in with the feelings, the emotional body. Bringing awareness into the pelvis, the belly, the heart and throat centers, this core, this visceral core of the physical body where the emotional body lives, where our feelings come from and go back to. What do you notice here? What might be bubbling up? Or what's not bubbling up? Maybe there's a little bit of emptiness or blank or numb, and that's okay too. So whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, just noticing what lives here. This part of who you are. And then checking in with the mind, the mental body. Noticing the kinds of thoughts, maybe the speed of thoughts, the tempo, the quality or tone of the mind, kind of what's the weather like, groggy or foggy or clear, clunky or sort of wide open. Just noticing. Again, dropping any judgment. We're growing our ability to be with experience as it is without trying to push any part of us into a specific shape or way of being. Just letting things land as they are. And then coming back to the breath, noticing again what's happening to the breath. And we'll begin to activate the energy body by increasing the breath. So the energy riding the breath. On the next exhale, drawing the belly button in, maybe a little lift and tuck of the pelvic floor as you squeeze out the last bits of air. And then release that and fill the belly, the ribs, the chest, all the way to the top of the inhale, and then watch as the breath leaves the body with that little nudge from the base of the spine, a little tuck and squeeze, gently, relaxedly, releasing all the air. And then relaxing that and filling up front, back, and side bodies, filling the container all the way to the top until it's time for the breath to leave the body again with that little extra nudge from the base of the spine. And following this rhythm, this increased inhale and exhale with the mind's eye, with your awareness, for a few more rounds of breath. And then releasing the effort around the breath, just letting that go. Letting it come back into its own natural rhythm. And from here, we'll root back into the body by rooting down through the sits bones, lengthening through the spine, and inhaling the arms overhead, gentle on the shoulders. If you need to bend elbows, go ahead and do that. And then draw hands down to heart center in Anjali Mudra. So coming into a prayer position in the hands, little tuck to the chin, bowing the head to the heart, and allowing your intention for the practice to rise up like a seed that wants to be planted in your life. And we'll establish those intentions with the sound of one Om. Feel free to follow along or just listen. Swallowing to the back of the throat and inhaling together. Releasing the hands and slowly opening the eyes. So as this practice in particular today is connecting with meditation and kind of growing our ability to meditate during this big kind of difficult time in most of our lives, remembering that your awareness moves out into space and moves back inside, going out into the world, coming back home, landing back in, like there is a wide open door that you can move through at any time. So as you notice this, as you begin to take the light in and kind of let your awareness move in and out gently, you could let the spine begin to move. Heart center lifting, opening on the inhale, sits bones root. Exhale, curling the spine, drawing the belly button in as the crown rounds toward the tailbone. So finding your own cat-cow here. Breathing into the spine, feeling that wave-like motion, massaging the spine as it moves forward and back, opening front body, opening back body. And then once you find neutral, we're going to come to all fours. So moving slowly, gradually, keeping the awareness on the breath, finding your way onto hands and knees, maybe using the blanket under the knees as a way to soften for the joints, and finding what works for you, eventually finding your way to knees under hips, hands under shoulders. Draw the belly button in a little bit. Tuck that navel to kind of support the low back as the tailbone and the sits bones reach toward the back wall, crown of the head toward the front wall, and shoulders slide down the back. From here, we can move into cat-cow again, this time from all fours. So curling the spine on the exhale, mid-back rises, tail and crown draw toward each other. Inhale, undulating the front body open, drawing shoulders back, sits bones back. Exhale, curling. So find your way again through your own flow. Might be bigger or smaller, faster or slower than mine. Let it follow your breath naturally. Enjoy every part of the transition. Every step along the way. Eventually finding your way into neutral. Take a breath here, and then we're going to begin to move the spine side to side. So inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, draw the belly button in and gaze over that left shoulder, drawing right hip toward the shoulder. So we're squeezing left hip through the left shoulder. So, sorry, no, we're right side, squeezing that side. Inhale back through center. I am discombobulated on this first day back. And then we're going to exhale over the left shoulder. So I'm not mirroring you in this moment. Squeezing left hip toward the left shoulder. Inhale back through center. Exhale other side. So find your way, opening the left and right sides of the spine alternately. Imagine that you've got a little tail here, wagging the tail slowly from side to side as the head gazes over the shoulder. And eventually finding neutral again, and we'll begin to roll the spine around the insides of a barrel. We're feeling side body connect with the side of the barrel, then front body toward the front of the barrel, other side, and then the back. So again, your speed, your kind of amplitude of movement, and at some point you're going to switch directions. Let the navel be drawn in to support the low back. And eventually you're just going to begin to move in whatever way the body feels good. You might slide the hips back and forth. You might slide them side to side. You might find spirals and circles. So let the body move kind of organically with your breath. The hips and the shoulders, head and neck coming into the movement. Extensions of the spine. And eventually we're going to tuck the toes and begin to slide the hips back over the heels. Walk the hands toward the front of the mat and let the head slowly lower between the biceps or in that general direction. If this is uncomfortable, you could stack hands and let the forehead sort of rest on the hands stacking. Breathing into this puppy pose, prayer position. Feeling the length in the spine. If it's comfortable to have the hands out in front of you, you might walk the hands to the left side, reaching that right sits bone back toward the right heel. Breathing here. And then walking back through center, reaching hands to the right side of the mat as the left sits bone reaches back toward the left heel, opening that left side body. And then coming back to center, finding your way back into tabletop, and we'll come into our first twist. So we're going to do thread the needle, planting the right hand. Now I'm mirroring you again. Planting that right hand below the nose. Inhale, left arm up overhead. Exhale, thread that arm. Reach toward the side wall. And if it works, release that left shoulder to the ground, maybe releasing the head to the floor. Right hand might plant in front of the nose to provide a little more support here. You might walk that hand toward the front of the mat. Maybe reach it up overhead, or resting on the low back if you want a little deeper twist there. So feeling into what works for you today. Melting into the twist. Soften wherever you can soften. One more complete round of breath here. And then draw the belly button in. We're going to release that left hand back up overhead and then bring it back to switch direction. So we're going to plant that left hand at the center of the mat. Inhale, right arm up, opening up your wing. Exhale, sweep it down, reach the fingertips toward the side wall. Release that right shoulder, side of the head. And then kind of deciding where the hand wants to be. Maybe it comes in front of the nose, the left hand. You could actually use that hand to readjust in the position if that feels good. You might lengthen it out to the front of the mat or reach left arm up overhead, releasing to the back. Whatever form of the twist feels yummiest to you today on this side. Melting in, softening wherever you can soften. Noticing what you notice. And then we're going to bring that left hand to the floor again. Reach right arm up overhead. Open, open, open. And then release that hand to the floor. From here, we're going to make our way onto standing, and I'm going to take us through down dog, but if down dog's not something that's workable for you, then just make your way in any way that works for you up to standing. Otherwise, we're going to come into tabletop, tuck the toes under, draw the belly button in strongly, and then begin to lift the hips, lift the knees, slowly sending hips back. And walking the feet, you could lift one heel, press the opposite heel to the floor, and then switch sides. So bending one knee, bending the other knee. Pressing hands into the floor strongly. Spread fingers wide. Rooting back through the heels. The heels probably won't touch the floor. They might not. Mine don't. But you're kind of lengthening them back. You can feel the opening in the backs of the knees, the calves. And then bend the knees strongly and see if you can allow the chest to melt a little bit more toward the floor. The head's heavy. Inhale, and on the exhale, draw the belly button in, and we're going to walk the feet to the hands or the hands to the feet, whichever is easiest. Bend the knees strongly. Again, maybe the belly rests on the thighs here. And then from here, draw the belly button in and press into the floor. Begin to roll your way up, stacking one vertebra on top of the other until you come to standing. Good. So let's get our blocks handy. We're going to bring our blocks to the either side of the front of the mat. And then we'll find our way into Tadasana. I'm going to remove the blanket there, but you might like to have the blanket handy because we will come back down onto the knees. So just check it out. See what works for you, and then find your way toward the top of the mat, finding our standing mountain pose. So check out the feet, maybe they're about hip width apart, maybe a little closer, maybe a little wider, depending on your stance, what works for you. And then lift the toes. See if you can really press into the balls of the feet as you lift the toes up, spread them wide, really opening the gates of the feet. Then release the toes. Feel the knees stack over ankles, hips over knees. Drop through the tailbone. See if you can have a sense of leveling out the hips. And then the spine rising long out of the pelvis, crown of the head drawing toward the ceiling. And let's roll the shoulders. And give a little roll. Squeeze up toward the ears, roll them back one more time. Up and back, and then let's switch directions. Squeezing to center, coming down. Breathing through the movement, going slow enough that you can feel every moment on the circle here. And then we'll shake it out. Let's take a step back and walk the feet out. We're going to come into kind of a wide mountain stance here, getting ready to come into our next twist. So feel that long line down the center of the body, and then we're just going to slide that center line side to side. Imagine that there is a runner that we're kind of gliding along, that side to side movement, the center line gliding. And then if it feels good, you could start the twist. So the rest of the body begins to float around that center line as it glides side to side. Maybe focusing on letting the shoulders soften and the arms relax. Soften the face. A moving meditation here. Feel into the body. Feel into the breath. And then let that slowly come back to center, walking feet back in together. And from here, we'll come into a few rounds of sun breath, and then we'll move into sun salutation before finding our way back down and loosening up the hips a little bit more to get ready for our seated meditation. So let's inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, sweep them down, keep the heart lifted. Inhaling, gathering sun energy. Exhale, sweep down through the body, root into the earth. Each inhale, gathering more of that sun energy, nourishing energy. Each exhale, sweeping, cleansing, rooting the body. Imagining our roots growing deeper, spreading wider, reaching out to each other. A different way of connecting. This time, let's bring hands together and we'll draw that center line down. So gathering, inhaling, gathering. Exhale, center and root. Finding that place between heaven and earth. This time, let's let the hands rest at heart center. You can close the eyes or hold a soft gaze. Notice the breath. Notice the bones in your body. See if you can feel into the bony structure holding you up right now. Noticing the muscles. Soften whatever doesn't need to work right now. And then feel into the emotional body. What are you noticing in this moment? What are you holding? Are you resisting something or hanging on to something? And without making that wrong or judging that, could you let go a little bit? Could you stay and allow? And then releasing the hands, opening the eyes. And we're going to get ready to move through our sun salutation. So I'm going to bring one block to center, and I'm going to start it on the highest level. You do what works for you. You can always use the shins when we do our half lift and our forward fold. So just feel what works for you. Find your Tadasana. Feel that sense of rooted, lifted, anchored, open. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, sweep it over, strong core as you sweep over, let the head go. The head like an anchor, drawing the spine down over the body, over the legs. Drawing the body down toward the earth. So hands resting on the block if that's comfortable, or maybe hands on the shins or the ankles. From here, we're going to draw the belly button in strongly. Begin to bend the knees. Let the sits bones drop a little bit. Press into the block or press into your shins as you inhale into a half lift. Tuck the chin a little bit so that you loosen the back of the neck. Long spine here, tailbone drawing away from the crown. Inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to soften again. Drop the head, maybe lengthening through the backs of the knees. If you want to keep the knees bent, that's okay too. Just letting your head and spine draw down. And then press into the floor with the feet, hands into the shin or block as you inhale, half lift. And exhale, forward fold. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, bend the knees, scoop up the heart, long spine. Exhale, sits bones lift, crown drops, long spine hanging. Good. From here, let's bend the knees again, and then we're going to plant the hands on the thighs. Draw the shoulders back. Inhale, scoop your way up. Beautiful. Yeah, we could do that too. And then we're going to do that again, a little bit more of a flow. Let's inhale, arms up overhead, maybe a little bit of a back bend here. Exhale, sweep it over, strong core, forward fold. Inhale, bend the knees with the heart, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Now you can come back up the way we did, or you could draw the belly button and strongly reach the arms to the side and reverse your swan dive. Palms touch, draw down to heart center. And one more time. Inhale, little back bend. Exhale, sweep it over. Forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward. Find your way up with a strong core. All the way up, palms touch. And draw down to heart center. Beautiful. So before we move into coming down onto the floor and doing a round of sun B, let's come into awkward pose, lightning pose. I'm going to do this sideways. So you start out in Tadasana, standing in Tadasana. Find that sort of sense of really rooted, grounded, long, lifted. And then from here, let's bring the arms out and begin to sit the hips back. Sitting the hips back as though you've got a stool behind you. Draw the belly button in strongly. Arms do what they like. Yours might like to lift up a little higher, come down a little lower. So feel what works for you as you drop through the tailbone and lift through the heart, lift through the chest. See that lightning bolt. Strong core. Inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to sweep it over, lengthen through the legs, coming into our forward fold. So find your blocks again. Inhale into your half lift. And exhale, we're going to step that left foot back, come down onto the left knee. So your hands might stay on the blocks on their highest level, or you might decide to drop down to a lower level. And if you don't have blocks, that's okay. You can tent your fingertips on the floor, finding what works. Drop through the tailbone, lift through the heart, and then maybe bringing one hand to the knee, other hand to the knee as you kind of lift up a little higher. Feel that tailbone dropping, crown lifting, maybe sinking a little deeper into the hips. Maybe that kind of draws the hips forward a little bit. Breathing here. staying here, or if you want to bring one arm up, you could bring the other arm up. Warrior one, modified. Inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to sweep it over. Find your blocks again if that's available, or you could keep hands above the knee on the thigh and begin to slide the hips back. So coming into a runner's stretch, sliding the hips back. Toes might lift or they might stay down toward the floor. Then we're going to slide it forward again into warrior. Back into runner. And we're going to continue this way for a little bit of a flow. You could add the arms on warrior if you'd like, if that would feel good. Exhaling, sending the hips back, bowing over the head. Inhaling, sliding hips forward, maybe arms come overhead. Exhale. So find your own flow. Couple more rounds here. Maybe it's just one arm. Next time you find yourself in runner's stretch, taking a complete round of breath here. Inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to come forward, draw the belly button in, and slide that foot back so we're kind of in a tabletop. And then we're going to bring that left foot forward, setting up for warrior on this side. Knee is over the ankle. I'm a little bit dark here, I can tell, but you know what I'm talking about. I think your knee is over the ankle, tailbone's dropping down. Use the block as much as need be. Or maybe hand is on the knee, other hand on the knee. Lifting through the heart. And again, you could stay here or draw arms overhead, or maybe just one arm. Feel what works for you today. Get a sense of pressing the forward foot into the floor, pressing the back foot into the floor. Maybe even a sense of bringing the legs together, that you wouldn't visibly be able to see it, but you're kind of scissoring the legs into center, strengthening that center. Inhale, on the exhale, sweep it down, finding the blocks if that's available, or just keeping hands on the thigh. Inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to slide those hips back, coming into runner stretch. Inhaling, sliding forward, lift the heart as the hips drop. Exhale, sliding back. So again, find your flow, deciding if the arms are going to come in or not. One or both, or neither. Finding a flow that feels good to you. And then the next time you find your way back to runner stretch, taking a complete round of breath here. And then we're going to slide that left foot back, coming back onto the knees, moving the blocks, and we're going to slide back into either prayer position with the toes tucked under and the hips just hovering over the heels, or you could relax the feet, the toes, the tops of the feet come to the mat, and maybe the sits bones, the hips slide a little bit further down, tailbone dropping. And maybe you bring the block underneath the forehead. I've got mine at the medium level, but you could kind of play around with the level. Or you might try using the blanket, that might feel better. Or stacked hands or fists. Or maybe the head comes to the floor. So find what works for you today. Some days are more flexible than others. Whatever position you find yourself in, just breathing here, softening. Notice what you notice, feel what you feel. And then we're going to walk the hands under the shoulders, And draw yourself back up into a kneeling position. And from here, we're going to find our way all the way down onto the floor. All the way down onto our backs. So I'm going to come sideways. Coming all the way down. You could bend the knees, or you might lengthen the legs out. So feel what works for you, whether feet on the floor or legs out long. And then we'll reach the arms up overhead, lengthen, reaching toes and fingers away from each other. Inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to draw that left knee in, squeeze the left knee into the chest. And then from here, really flex both feet, plant the back of the right thigh into the floor as you lift the left heel toward the ceiling. Maybe the hands come to the thigh. Inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to squeeze the knee into the chest again. And then we'll release the foot to the floor, slide it out long if that's okay for your back, and reach back into Tadasana, full body stretch. Inhale, and on the exhale, draw the belly button in and draw the right knee in to the chest, deciding whether to plant the left foot or just let it stay long. Melting into right hip flexor, the whole right side of the hip. From here, we're going to flex the feet, root down through that long, the thigh that's on the floor. Feel it rooting into the floor as you lengthen the right sole of the foot toward the ceiling. Maybe clasping behind the leg or just reaching the sole of the foot up, soften through the shoulders. And then squeeze one more time, bending that right knee, drawing it into the chest. And then from here, we're going to plant that foot, plant the left foot. So we're coming into a prep for bridge. Feel the sacrum on the floor, and we're just going to begin to slowly rock the sacrum back a little bit. So imagine the hips like up the pelvic bowl full of water, and it's tipping into the belly button. And then we're going to rock it forward toward the tailbone so the water tips toward the feet. Continue that motion, rocking back, and tipping forward. See if you can feel every part of that arc. One smooth movement, forward and back. And then finding neutral again, we're going to press both feet strongly into the floor as we begin to tip the pelvis back, and then lift the hips up toward the ceiling, coming into bridge. You could stay here or maybe inhale, arms up overhead. And we're going to come into a little flow here. We're going to slowly lower hips and arms back down to the floor. Palms reach the floor at the same time as the hips. Inhale, press into the floor with the feet as the hips lift, the hands draw back behind us. Imagine the arms like levers, slowly rolling down through the spine and then landing the hips on the floor. Bringing together the breath and the movement and the mind. Beginning to unwind ourselves toward our final meditation. Like slowly moving the body and the breath together. The next time the sacrum finds its way to the floor, the hips relax down. We're going to lift the left foot and cross it over the right knee. So we're going to come into our hip opener here. You might find that this is enough of an opening, breathing into this position. You might bring the left hand to the inside of that knee or thigh and just begin to press it gently open if you want a little more. Or you might come onto the toes of the right foot and then maybe even lift off and clasp hands around that right thigh. So find the version of this hip opener that would feel best to you. This pigeon, a pigeon on the back, resting pigeon. Maybe there is a little gentle rock up and back or side to side, just softly, softly relaxing into that outer left hip. One more round of breath. And then if the foot's lifted, we'll bring that right foot down. We'll bring the left foot down to meet it, press the left foot into the floor and lift the right foot, and we'll come into the other side. So crossing right foot over left knee and opening that right knee up a little bit, opening the right hip this time. Maybe gently guiding it open with the hand. Or maybe you don't need any extra guidance. Maybe that's enough of a stretch. Or maybe you want a little more and you come onto the tiptoes or lift the foot and clasp behind that left thigh. Maybe in stillness, or maybe finding just a gentle movement, a gentle rocking in some direction. So seeing what works for you. Not trying to get anywhere in particular. Just softening into the body, into the breath, into this experience. And from here, we're going to plant that left foot back on the floor, plant the right foot, and walk the feet apart. Bring the arms out to a T, and we'll slowly windshield wipe the knees. Drop to the left. Inhale through center. Drop to the right. So again, a moving meditation. A slow flow. Massaging the hips, the sacrum, preparing the body for sitting. So at this point, you are welcome to decide that you're going to do your meditation in Shavasana. Feel free to do that if you'd like to do that, finding whatever props you might need to set up, or slowly lifting yourself onto your seat and finding your way into a comfortable seat. Setting up a cushion or block, whatever might be useful for you. For the last chunk of our class here. Creating enough support in your seat, if you're seated, that you can feel very comfortable and rooted. And like you don't have to work very hard to have the hips be level and the spine long. And if you're on the floor, finding whatever support you need to feel the spine lengthen and rest. And closing the eyes or holding a soft gaze. Whatever position you're in. Let's begin with a short body scan. Again, bringing awareness into the head. Noticing what you notice here. Mouth and throat, neck, shoulders. Melting into shoulders. Aware of the arms, elbows and wrists, hands and fingers. And coming into the chest and the upper back. And let your attention flow down through the torso. Feeling into the organs of the torso, to the belly, mid-back, low back, the low belly, and into the hips, the buttocks, through the pelvic floor, and into legs. Feel knees and ankles, feet and toes. Feel into this whole body. Awareness of this body receiving the benefits of the practice. Soaking in. And feel into the visceral body, feel into the emotional body. Notice what you're feeling in this moment. Letting it be as it is, releasing any judgment about what you find. And again, with the mind, the mental body, noticing what's happening here. Without forcing anything, just allowing things to release mentally, physically, emotionally. Making room for all of you to be here with the breath, riding the breath. You might decide to count breaths up till 10, and then starting back over. Or you might just follow the flow of the breath in and out of the body. Not worrying if the mind continues producing thoughts, just letting that go, letting everything be as it is. And I'll be quiet for the next few minutes and bring us back at the end. If you find that the mind has begun to wander, just gently, with a feather-light touch, inviting the mind back to the breath, back to the body, releasing any judgment. So that happened again. Here we go. Let's start over. Begin again. We'll take a couple more minutes. Now beginning to deepen the breath, beginning to feel into the body again as the breath increases the energy. And as the energy body wakes back up, increases, enlivens, I'll read a quote by Black Elk. The first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes from within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize that at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that this center is really everywhere, it is within each of us. And wiggling fingers and toes, bringing movement back into the body. Let your next inhale draw the arms up overhead, palms touch, and come down to heart center again in Anjali Mudra, tucking the chin with the head bowing to the heart, bringing to mind the intention that you set at the beginning of practice. And we'll send those intentions into our days, into our daily life, into the lives of the people around us and this whole planet with the sound of one Om, swallowing to the back of the throat and inhaling together. Releasing the heart into the hands. Hands come to the third eye, and we acknowledge the divine in ourselves and in each other as we bow and say namaste. Namaste. Thank you for practicing today. And we'll say goodbye to folks who might have been listening to this by recording, and I'll open us back up